Hi, Councilwoman Scarpa here. Thrilled to be at Joe's Kickoff. I want to thank Joe for running for council. I never thought he'd do it when I asked him to run, but we need somebody with intelligence and financial management on our team on that council, who's a team player and who has the experience and integrity to do the right thing for West Orange taxpayers.
Hey folks, Roy Jensen here at Fandango's in West Orange. We have a great event. You see we got a nice little crowd here, we got some food, and we're here for the kickoff for Joe Krakoviak's run for council. And boy, we need Joe more than ever. You'll see we have a nice crowd here tonight. You know, a bunch of concerned citizens. We're concerned about the direction West Orange is headed, and looking to Joe to maybe make some changes. So it should be well. It's been a wonderful night already. Plenty of people to talk to. Really enjoy it. So thanks for joining us.
I'd like to introduce you to Councilwoman Susan Scarpa, who many of you know.
I'm so sorry I can't stay tonight. I'm the liaison to the Economic Development meeting. But I just wanted to say to all of you, thank you so much for coming out. I do take some responsibility for this because I was the one who asked Joe Krakowiak to run for council. You know that for me it's all about transparency and accountability and doing what's right for our residents. And I've known Joe for a long time. He's been a mentor to me for a decade. When I first came out on an environmental issue at the Gregory School, met Rosary Morelli, and took up the causes of the things that were most important to West Orange residents, whether it be our seniors or our environment. And I don't know anyone with more integrity, intelligence, particularly in the financial area. Joe has been available to me when I've called on him 24/7, and I have needed to call on him because this guy, like Rosary Morelli, knows where all the dead bodies are buried. And he understands our municipal finances inside and out. And I just don't know anyone who I would rather have sitting next to me on the council seat. So please go out and work as hard as you can for Joe. I want everyone to tell 10 people, 10 neighbors, 10 friends, to tell 10 of their friends why we need Joe on the council.
He's a long-time resident of West Orange. He knows a lot about the Downtown Alliance and the needs and the challenges of our downtown corridor.
I got to tell you, my family moved to West Orange in 1975. My parents bought their first house on the little dead-end street off of Main Street, Park Terrace. It was funny because when we said we were moving to West Orange, the friends and the neighbors that we knew back then, the family members, they thought we were like the hoi polloi, We're moving to West Orange, because back then moving to West Orange was like a symbol that you made it, you were somebody, you moved to West Orange. It was, West Orange was known for probably having higher taxes back then than most of the other communities around here. But the services that we would get for that were just, unbelievable. The recreation, the garbage pickup. I mean, everything was. It was just, it just was unbelievable, and that's why people, even back then in 1975, people were running to buy houses. The house went on the market. It didn't last for long. I got to tell you though, it's certainly changed. Over the years since 1975, 50 years, the taxes have gone steadily up, and unfortunately, the services have gone in the other direction. We don't have nearly the service that we had, and not even close. Not even close. It's a shame because we have a beautiful town. We have a lot of beautiful people, and it's just you hate to see you hate to see long-time residents moving out of town because they're just chased out by the high prices, the high taxes. So we need, we need a guy like Joe on the council who will fight, fight for us little guys.
So yes, I'm Ted Reinhardt. I was an astrophysicist. I'm retired and now I'm just a dad. I do have two very wonderful little girls that I love. I lived here in West Orange when both of them were born, and I hope to stay here with them for a long while. And that is why I support Joe. I was sitting home tonight with my girls, and I did not want to leave them and come out here. And I looked at them and I thought to myself, they're worth it. They deserve it. They deserve better. I met Joe when I first moved in here because I moved in behind the Crestmont Forest up on Ferris Drive on the hill. And that whole shenanigans with them wanting to sell to whoever built all the property and all that madness back there. And, they did buy the property and save it for us, which turned out to be a garbage dump, but that's a whole other story. But Joe also helped me to bring that to light and get that out in the open somewhat. And so Joe does fight for us. Joe, as far as I know, he goes straight down the middle. What it is. And the one reason why I think Joe and I have become good friends is that what I don't find a lot of right now in the world, it seems to be, is an ability to compromise, an ability to find the middle, an ability to say, there's room for us both to figure this out, to sit down, to agree, and to get stuff done. And that's what happens when I talk to Joe. We don't agree on everything. We don't. It just doesn't happen. We live in reality, right? So when we talk about things, often things we're very passionate about. And Joe actually is calming, right? He brings me down. I get a little bit hyper. He brings me down a bit, and we meet somewhere in the middle. I think about my little girls, and I think about what I want to leave to them and what I want to give them. And we need people like Joe to deliver that to us because we're not getting it otherwise, right? And I think Joe is the kind of guy who can sit down, who can weigh both sides, who could come up with something that's fair and equitable for everyone and get the job done.
Our next speaker is someone you may not recognize her face, but know her posts. Mel Valdez is a lawyer, is a resident of our downtown area, and she is an amazing advocate for residents. She's very knowledgeable, she's very articulate, and she is somebody who is out there advocating day in and day out and taking the slings and arrows that anyone who dares to speak the truth and speak against the administration and the machine on social media. So we are so pleased that Mel is here, and she's been singing Joe's praises on social media. Thank you, Mel. And maybe some of you can follow up her posts and support her. But I'd like to introduce Mel Valdez.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for that lovely introduction. So my full name is actually Mel Julie, but I go by Mel. My mom gave me that name. She made it up. And I've been a resident of West Orange since 2001 when my parents decided to move here from West New York. We moved to Essex County to West Orange. So I was like 13 years old when we moved here. And I did not attend West Orange Public Schools. I went to private school. But after I graduated college, I did come back and, I guess I became more immersed in the community. And then I had my daughter, who is now 10, and she attends Washington Elementary School. And, I started just noticing like little issues. And when I reached out to the Township Council regarding a parking issue, because I do live on Elm Street. On Elm Street, not everyone has a driveway. My house did not come with a driveway, and now we're kicking ourselves for not buying a house with a driveway. I reached out to the council about this, and Joe was the only one who cared, and he came to my house, and he came and met with us, and he walked the street and he saw the area and saw what the concerns were, and he really listened, and he was one of the people who advocated for us changing the parking ordinance, at least in my area of town, so parking can be allowed on both sides of the street, because one thing that was happening is that when I went to law school, I was going part-time. So I was getting home at 10, 11 o'clock at night, and I wouldn't find parking. And it just wasn't safe to park. I was being told by the police, well, you can park like 3 blocks away. I'm not walking 3 blocks at 11 o'clock at night by myself. That's just a recipe for disaster. I know West Orange is a very safe community, but still, it just didn't seem smart. So, you know, I thank Joe because he listened to me, he advocated for me, and the ordinance was revised, and now, you know, parking is allowed on both sides, and the street cleaning schedule was also revised to allow for that. And, you know, I feel that he is someone who, he is approachable, he's very knowledgeable. You know, I love when he breaks down on social media. Sometimes I can't make it to all the town council meetings, and he'll break down, you know, this is what happened at this time, even with the timestamps, and to me that's very helpful, because sometimes, let's be honest, who has 6 hours of their lives to spend watching a town council meeting? I know I don't. So, you know, I'm glad that, you know, Joe is running again. You know, I did vote for him when he ran for mayor, and I thought perhaps maybe he could have won. That, unfortunately, that didn't happen, but maybe that was just to allow for him to run now, because I do think that he is what West Orange needs. You know, our taxes are getting out of control, spending is out of control, and frankly, I do not feel the administration listens to us residents, or do they care about our needs. I have had residents who message me on social media asking for my help, because they're like, maybe you can help me get this issue resolved, because I've called the police, or I've called, you know, the mayor, I've met with the mayor, and it's falling on deaf ears, and, you know, it shouldn't be like that. They're serving the public. It's public service, and I think maybe they've forgotten that that's what their job is, and they're really, you know, they care about the big interests, the people who are, I guess, paying their campaigns. But, you know, I do believe that Joe will be an excellent councilman, and, you know, that's why I support him. That's why my family supports him, and thank you for having me here.
I'm glad I was able to come here. Sandy was not, but I'll speak for her as well. So, very briefly, we have known Joe and Claire. When did you move on? 2003. So since 2000, so what's that, 21 years? So they've been our neighbors for 21 years, and we have followed both of them as they have gotten active in town affairs. We supported their campaigns for office, council, both of them. Joe, for his council runs in success, and as mayor. And we were disappointed that he was not elected last time. So, as I have said from the beginning, Joe is pretty amazing in the way he analyzes issues, expresses himself, that you can understand what he's talking about. His piece in the Chronicle today, I read, they screwed up a little bit the page. You look at it and continue the page going, but you can find the article. And again, it's just another example of how well Joe understands the issues, how he expresses himself, and we're all here today to get him back on council so that he can continue to do the good work that he's done in the past. So my wife Sandy and I have supported Joe since the beginning. We will continue to support him to the best of our ability, and see all of you here today will do the same. So good luck. You're a little bit crazy, but that's okay. We need some crazy. Anyway, I'm glad I'm here today.
Sheila Lefkowitz, a long-time resident of Pleasantdale, with her husband Charlie, and she's been working on she is our Energizer bunny. She knows everybody. She runs from here to there, and whatever you need, she's the go-to person. So She is a clinical social worker by vocation, and she is an active member of the West Orange Older Adults Advisory Board. So it's nice of you to do that for the older adults, Sheila. You know, it's good when young people volunteer to help the older ones. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Sheila Lefkowitz.
My involvement with Joe began some 10 years ago when I noticed some hazardous broken sidewalks and streets near my home. So I hear you, Mel. There are problems all around town. So I called Councilman Krakoviak to take action, and what did Joe do? Joe came out and in front of my home, and he observed the problems that were on the sidewalks in the street. And Joe took time to listen to my concerns, and Joe took pictures, and Joe returned to Town Hall to advocate on our behalf, and so that me and my neighbors could get our sidewalks fixed. It was Joe's action and advocacy that led to a series of events that brought about the repair of our sidewalks and streets. Yay. Councilman Krakowiak made all the difference. Joe Krakowiak is that kind of a reliable and effective public servant who gets stuff done here in West Orange. After 10 years on the council and having served as council president for some of those years, Joe took a break and things started to get really dim in West Orange without Joe on the council. Many of Joe's fans, including myself, we urged Joe to return to public service to restore the kind of good government that will support transparency, good financial practices, and public trust. Friends, I'm so happy that Joe Krakowiak is back. Here's some background about our friend Joe Krakowiak. Joe is a business communications consultant. Joe was a reporter for the Wall Street Journal and USA Today. Joe founded West Orange Grassroots, a nonpartisan website providing transparency about our municipal finances and redevelopment, and showed videos of town council meetings. Joe has a demonstrated record of being able to engage West Orange's diverse community through his volunteer involvement in many of West Orange's organizations, including the West Orange African Heritage Organization, our Green West Orange, and many others. Joe finds solutions to our problems. Joe gets stuff done. Joe is focused and fired up to ignite a better future for West Orange, and without further delay, it's my honor to introduce Joe Krakowiak for West Orange Town Council. Together, we can do better.
Thank you, Sheila. That's going to be a hard act to follow, but I'll try. Thanks to everyone who's here tonight, especially those who are supporting me and will support me. The campaign team, thanks to Javier, the owner of the restaurant, who's given us such great food and good service. So thank you, Javier. Just to quote Sheila, clearly together we can do better. So, for those of you who have been following me, I sort of have the same priorities every campaign because they're great priorities. Fiscal responsibility, quality of life, environmental protection, personal road and pedestrian safety, health and welfare for our older adults and the disadvantaged, smart economic development, and transparency and accountability. So everyone who knows me knows that I start these speeches with a lot of numbers. And simply, the reason why is because a household finances determine what all of you guys do with your families, right? It's the same way with the municipality. The better our finances are, the more we can do for the people. And that's part of the problem that Roy was talking about before. Unfortunately, our town finances are a disaster. After I tell you a little, I want you to ask yourself, why aren't any of the other candidates talking about this and how to fix it? I know why the three incumbents aren't talking about this, because this is their doing. In the last three budgets, spending rose $23 million, up 25% to $113 million. Fortunately, it's gone down from that lofty peak this year a little bit. We've exceeded the state's 2% cap on property tax increases twice, and I think we did it again this year. Councilwoman Scarpa's not here, so I can't confirm that. But here's the key. Debt has skyrocketed just in 3 years, 49%. That means what that means is that we borrowed $56 million in 3 years and raised our total outstanding debt to almost $170 million.
Whoa.
Now, I don't know Ben Avery, but Ben Avery posts a lot of stuff in the local Facebook boards. And he did a list of all the municipalities around us. Our debt exceeds all of the municipalities around us by at least 2 times.
Wow.
And some of it almost 3 times. Now, I haven't done the research, but as far as I can recall, Ben Avery has never been wrong. And that's part of the problem we have here in West Orange. Because not only have we borrowed the money, but we borrowed at some of the highest rates any of us have ever seen. The interest rates that we are paying on this debt, get this, we're paying debt service, principal and interest on what we borrowed, $11.6 million this year. That is almost 12% of our budget that we're paying our credit card for. That means we're not getting any more cops, we're not fixing up the parks, we're not buying open space, we're paying for previous borrowing and previous spending. And folks, that is unsustainable that 12% of our budget can't help the people of West Orange. It's just crazy. And here's a key that I hope everybody goes away from tonight. People say, oh, the value of my property keeps going up, so why do I have to worry? I can pay the taxes, why do I have to worry? This increase in debt and the tax increases hurts property values. The town's tax base has declined by nearly $100 million just in the last 3 years. What does that mean? It means the pie is getting smaller, and to keep paying the same amount of money in tax levy to fund the budget means we're all paying more. So that's one consequence of terrible financial practices. And here's another. Here's what else. When this happens, your tax dollars are buying less, and that undercuts your investment in your property. And you renters, I'll bet you there's some renters here, you think, oh, well, I don't pay taxes. Yes, you do. Because your rent pays the property taxes of the owner of your building where you live. So the town gets the renters just along with the property owners. You're paying these higher taxes whether you see the tax bill or not. As property taxes rise, your property's market value rises less than it could. Yes, it might be going up, but it's rising less than it could. Most mortgages are based largely in part on taxes. So as they rise, so does the borrower's required income to be able to qualify for the mortgage. As monthly payments rise, fewer people can afford it, and that reduces demand and thus the potential market value of your property. And as I mentioned before, the shrinking tax base pie requires property owners to pay more dollars to provide the same amount of the levy required to balance the budget. We need new council members who prioritize financial strength over reckless spending and borrowing as the most important way to make our town an even better place to live. Whenever anybody asks about my plan, tell them it's on the campaign website. Send them to joekrakowiak.com. Eliminate wasteful spending, prioritize taxpayers and renters, focus on must-haves, and keep the town as affordable as possible. Increase competition for town contracts and assets, and increase efficiency. Folks, a contract from a municipality has value, and people will compete for it if you force them to. And our town gives away all kinds of contracts without any bidding, any competition. And what can you expect on the prices that we pay for this if there's no competition? It's the same way with assets. We give away valuable assets, redevelopment rights. We gave away the library for $1 million and never got an appraisal. We have no idea what the value of that property was. We just gave it to the developer and boom, that was it. That stuff is valuable, and guess who owns it? You guys do. Our community collectively owns every asset, every building, every police car that this municipality owns. It's all of ours. And we need to demand that we get that respect, that we have a say in how our resources are spent. And we need to consider selling some assets to pay off this debt. It's just like a household. It's so much easier to get into debt problems than it is to get out of it, right? Anybody who's gotten any problems on credit cards? It's a whole lot easier to get into debt than it is to get out of it. It's the same way here. As many of you know who are paying attention, I was the only council member to vote against acquiring the Rock Spring Golf Club, which now carries more than $13 million in debt. Every penny of it at the highest interest rates that any of us has ever seen.
Is that still in operation?
Yes, it is. And when somebody says, oh, it's profitable, you say, no, it's not. It's not profitable when you consider the debt service costs for acquiring it and the capital improvements of a golf club. Anybody who's ever been involved in the management of a golf club knows it is high capital intensive because all the property is out in the open and gets hit by all kinds of weather. But if we sold that, we could knock back the debt, we could pay off the debt, and that would also reduce our annual debt service costs. Here's another thing, and hold on to me if I have to think because I get so angry at this. We need to end the revenue-robbing 30-year property tax abatements that we give out and the resulting payments in lieu of taxes. Those things are fancy words for giving away millions of dollars in future revenues to the town because they're the ones that don't have to pay the taxes. Guess who makes up the missing revenue in pilots? All of us here that own property. It's just crazy. And for many cases, they don't need the incentives in order to do the project. But we don't know because we have never competitively bid any of the 3 redevelopment projects that are going on in our town right now. We pick a single favored vendor, and who can blame them for them not getting as much as they can out of the deal? But it's much easier for them if they know that we have no other competitors to fall back on. And that's what happens. We get robbed. We get robbed. So we need to minimize tax increases, we need to improve the budget process, and we need to generate new revenue. We've got this jitney in town. It is a great jitney, especially for a town that doesn't have a train station into the city. It's a great service. People use it, no question about it. It is free. Do you realize that the rest of the people who don't use the jitney subsidize to the tune of somewhere north of $600,000 a year? And this is to subsidize people. God bless them. They are all commuting into the city, virtually all of them for high-paying jobs. They can afford to pay something for this. But I don't think it's right that we have to pay $600,000 or more. Yeah, I'm sure it's more than that. I just can't find out what the numbers are. But we need to change that. Here's another thing. I don't know if any of you take the jitney. Have you ever noticed that nobody has to prove whether they live in West Orange? Anybody ever notice? But if you look at all of the pickup points near our borders with other municipalities, there's always extra cars parking there that people get into and drive away from. We need to start checking to make sure. If we're going to subsidize people, they better be the people here in our town that pay property taxes and not people from other communities. We've got to do a better job with the parking meter collection and enforcement. I can't tell you how many times I've gone around the town and tried to put money into one of the parking meters, and I can't put it in because they're full. Nobody is emptying them. And I know that's just a little bit of money from these parking meters, but I'll bet you it adds up. And it's ridiculous that we don't collect money that can help our town. It's just crazy. And we also, you okay, George? We also need to hire, again, people who have been following me know that I say this all the time, we need to hire a seasoned economic development director and a planner who can identify and attract commercial businesses and build ratables. We all want to live in the best town possible. Do we think that this can be a better place to live, though? Then let's do something about it. First reason I'm running because of the dramatic change in the makeup of the current council. You may recall this guy known as 4-to-1 Joe. He was on the council for 10 years, and just about every big vote that came up, he was outvoted 4-to-1. So he left in 2020. But there's been a remarkable change. Now there are 2 independents on the council. Now they're only getting outvoted 3-2. If you do the math, if I and Joyce Rudin, who's the only other independent running in this race, if we get on, we can really take this town in a better direction. When I say they were outvoted 3-2, on Tuesday, they got outvoted 3-2 on this crazy downtown redevelopment phase 2 project. What they voted on Tuesday night was an amendment to the original redevelopment agreement. And here's what it does. It shifts millions of dollars in remediation costs from the redeveloper to the town. The original agreement said the redeveloper was going to handle all the remediation. In this one, now the town has it. And it turns out it's millions of dollars. I heard the why question. I call it the why question because when I tell people these stories from the 10 years I was on council to now, and Cindy and Zee can confirm this, that's what people say. Why are they doing this? This makes no sense. I went to 2 different council meetings and probably, at first I pointed out all of the problems with this. Nobody up on the council, none of the 3 incumbents said anything in response, except one of them told me I didn't know the difference between assessed value and market value. First, before I go on, let me just tell you, it not only shifts millions of dollars of remediation costs to the redeveloper, it proposes to sell town property. One parcel we bought 2 years ago for $12.5 million. They're going to sell it for a multi-million-dollar loss. And when I say multi-million-dollar, I figured out it's about $6 million. Now, think about this. You borrow $12 million to buy a piece of property. And 2 years later, you sell that property for a $6 million loss. What are you going to do to pay back that loan? In West Orange, we're going to raise your property taxes. Insane. After they bought that piece of property at 55 Lakeside, they instantly wiped away more than $320,000 in annual property taxes. Didn't seem to bother them in the least. When I pointed out to them, didn't say a word. There are people in this room, and I can see Claire, and maybe a couple other people, I don't know, Adam, if you got up there, but people got up 2 years ago and told the town, told the council, the same council as the three incumbents, and we told them not to buy this, because then you make the taxpayers real estate speculators. And that's exactly what turns out to be.
Why did they buy it?
There's that word again. There's that word. People are going to say, Lee, that you're my plant. You keep asking why. It gets worse. It gets worse. I'll come back to you, Lee, just a second. So the revised agreement makes it even more likely that we are going to give them a 30-year property tax abatement and a 30-year pilot. The pilot is short for payments in lieu of taxes. And what happens in a payment in lieu of taxes is the property owner does not pay any property taxes on the improvements for 30 years. They pay this pilot. Now, the pilot starts out, if you compare it to the previous two pilots in town, at about 15% of what they would be paying on the property after the finished construction, right? Makes sense. That's what all of us would have to do, right? We build onto our house, it raises the assessment, and we pay the additional taxes. In this case, they start paying at 15% of what they otherwise would pay, and it gradually rises over 30 years until they're required to meet the same property tax rate that the rest of us have been paying for that 30 years. This is a terrible, terrible deal for the township, for the renters, and for the property owners. Now, I went up there, and so did, there was somebody else here, Todd DeBovey, who also joined me, and he's a real estate, commercial real estate expert. And we pointed this stuff out to them. They didn't respond. Why do you have public comment? One of the things you can tell the people, tell your elected representatives what you want them to do, and the other one is to ask them questions. So between the both of us, we probably asked them 20 questions. At the second meeting, you can watch the video. I asked them a series of questions, and then I handed them the printed questions so that they could follow along in their responses. Do you think they answered a single question? Not a single question. The mayor was on the council for 20 years. It's the mayor, get this, here's another thing with accountability and transparency. It's the mayor that brought this deal to the council, all right? If she didn't think it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, she didn't have to bring it, but she did. And she was there the other night. Here's a question I asked that I asked because other people asked me to, which is, if we're gonna sell the Public Works property at 25 Lakeside, everybody familiar with where that is? They're proposing to sell that property too. Yeah, where's the Department of Public Works going? And where's the West Orange Animal Shelter going? So I thought that was a legitimate question. That should be an easy question to answer, right? Nope, that was one of the questions that weren't answered. The mayor was sitting right there. How can you possibly propose to sell property that has town facilities without telling us where they're going to move? Here's an interesting little factoid from when I was on the council. 2017, Prism proposed to buy 25 Lakeside. Anybody guess how much they wanted to pay? Not 2 million, not 5 million, not 7 million. They proposed to pay more than $9 million just for the Public Works property. Now, the mayor and the council majority want us to sell that property and the property we paid $12.5 million for $10.8 million. When I tell you that this council is robbing you, the numbers prove it. It's not an opinion. It is absolute fact. Yes. Yes, Judy.
If Matrix sells, suppose Matrix sells hypothetically in 5 years, does the pilot program transfer to the new owner?
Heck no. What real estate developer would say, oh, I'm going to turn down saving, $10, $12 million in property taxes over the next 20 years? Of course not. No, it's in perpetuity. So Joyce Rube is the only other independent on the ballot. We get those four on, nothing can stop us. We can get a financially stronger West Orange. We can defeat this redevelopment deal that is a terrible financial burden to the town, the property owners and renters. We can then solicit RFPs, which is the way it's supposed to do. You're supposed to have a competitive process to give away town resources. We'll do an RFP, we'll go wide, far and wide, and we'll say, what are your ideas of what to do with this property? And we'll pick the best ideas and the most financially strong redeveloper. You know, we've struck out 3 times with redevelopers, all 3 which have just been given this redevelopment resource on a platter, and they've screwed it up every time. So secondly, that was my first. Secondly, arm yourself with a few of the most compelling facts that you think make me the candidate to vote for, and then spread the word. If you read or hear people talking trash on me, simply ask for proof and counter that your understanding of the facts or your understanding of the candidate is much different. That will go a long way to refute and challenge these statements, which are often intentionally false and misleading. I've been a registered independent for most of my life, voting for Democrats and Republicans, whomever I thought was the best candidate. But to me, party doesn't mean anything in our nonpartisan elections. And frankly, neither does any other demographic or identity. What matters to me is the content of a candidate's character, their track record, and where they credibly want to take us. In other words, who is the best person to deal with the local issues that affect our everyday lives? The town is a financial basket case, and that means the household finances of property owners and renters are at risk. Finances in good order help determine how we can realize our priorities. I understand the problem. I'm clearly the only candidate that demonstrates that, and the only one with a plan to fix it.